What's
Welcome
up,
back.
everybody? Steve, this is my channel. What's up?
That was so great. Well, welcome back. Our stream may be a little bit weird. I can see it's a little pixelated on YouTube, but it's been a while. You're here with SteveO and SteveO today. So yeah, ask us anything. It's been a bit. How are you doing, SteveO?
Doing all right, doing okay. Just just water feeding a bunch. It's like getting it,
Getting it?
Yeah.
Making some like satisfying TikTok videos and stuff, or what?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a cool thing to do these days, if you want to be cool like SteveO,
I just sit in my truck and just film,
Well, we've been gone for a bit because I was making some changes. As you can see in the background here, there's no red sign. That's nothing bad. It was just I was gonna. This is too great. I was gonna move, didn't move, so I had to clean up everything. That took a long time. It was a lot of stress. A lot of stress is gone, so that's good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's it, guys. So
it's so anticlimactic of the reason that we're just like, has been like busy.
No one cares. No one cares about the reason, really.
No. By the way, Window Guys, what's going on? To Mike Nichols himself, DBCS, Evan Stomp, the Squeegee Pullers here, Just Jacobs here. What's up? What's up to everybody?
Yeah, it must be my computer because it happened last time too. Of being all pixelated. You're fine. It's just mine. Oh well. Hey, in the comments, real quickly, who got snow? Who didn't get snow? Because it kind of stinks. We got like 6 to 8 inches this weekend.
Dang, is it gone already though? Melted?
No, it's still on the ground. I mean, 6 to 8 inches is quite a bit. So I mean, yeah, and it's freezing. It just drops off like out of nowhere, and boom, summer's over. The leaves will be all gone off of all the trees. It's yeah, man. I even had like a home this morning. Went out 8 a.m. Person never answered the door. That was really awesome. So got
like,
all ready.
I'm going back home where it's warm.
Yep, exactly. I sat there for 15 minutes and then they didn't come to the door. I texted them, everything, nothing. I was like, all right, man, I'm going home. We're just gonna reschedule for some other time because I ain't sitting here and waiting. No way.
That's nice.
Because I mean, during the summer, you can always just say, oh, hey, I'm gonna start on the outside. But I also forgot windshield washer fluid, so I couldn't start on the outside. It was just
sounds awful.
It was not meant to be.
Sounds awful. It was like 80s today. I'm wearing shorts still, but like it's supposed to be down. I think the low on like Thursday is supposed to be like 28 degrees or something crazy. So, I mean, it'll be back into like the upper 70s like in a couple days after, but we're getting like this weird cold snap and it's gonna suck.
Yeah, it slows us all down, but it is what happens this time of year. It just you always like. Do you ever find this though, that when like you were cleaning all the time and in business that by the time, well, maybe your season was shorter in Wisconsin, but by the time that like winter started beginning, it was like you almost forgot what like it was like.
Yeah.
And then you get out and you're like, man, like I don't think of it as like a negative thing. Like some people are like, man, like winter comes and I hate it. I love winter because it gives us a little bit of time off. And then it's just like that break. But then for some people, it makes them so mad about like having it. But I don't know. I find it to be super nice. But then again, it's frustrating because you think about like working out in the cold and everything. I'm frozen.
Yeah. You know what it is like you get enough time where by the end of summer, your brain is like, this is it. This is the new norm. And then all of a sudden it stops. It's like when guys get into business for the first time, they're like, oh man, I'm making so much money. They forget that there's times where it's like, oh, we're not working this week. Like, it's the same thing where like your brain just kind of stays on that one. So you just never get used to one season.
Nope, never. How many?
There's a bunch of real questions right out of the gate. So this is great.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. First one was from Wormy. Really want to start off with my own window cleaning business. Any valuable advice you wish you knew when you were younger? What's one thing that you would say to your old self if you could?
Two things. The first one is save for taxes. Save for taxes, because you don't like understand that you have to put like 30% of every paycheck, put it off to the side so you don't get screwed when you do really well. Once you pass that first little point, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you didn't owe much last year, now you owe lots. And the second one is, as much as you put into it is what you get out. So like if you're just chilling, you're like, this is great freedom, man. You're just gonna grow a little bit slower, which is cool, but like what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah. My biggest thing that I learned from the beginning to the end was just to be humble and like the approach to everything. That was one of my biggest things I was super bad at, was being a hothead. And I really had to like just tone that down just immensely from when I first began, and realize that like people make mistakes. Nothing is ever perfect. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
That has been my main thing of that I've really had to learn from my days of like managing. Like when I became an owner, I realized that, but it took a while. So if anything, just be humble in your approach, and that'll help for sure.
You know what I noticed, like a big like thing is that this happens with a lot of new companies, is they get into business, and then after a couple of weeks they like know everything, and then it takes like a year or two for them to go, oh wait, I should listen to things. Because I mean, I can't tell you how many times people call me to tell me how stupidly wrong I am, and it's like, what you're saying doesn't even make sense. Like you're just making stuff up, and they're like, they're just not listening. So, and then they revert and then realize they could learn some things. So
Right, exactly. So yeah, man. Let's see. I wonder how young Wormy is, but that's some good pointers. Definitely.
tell us how old you are, by the way, just for
Yeah.
fun facts.
So now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he said younger, so 14.
Yeah, I'd say 14. And these days, a lot of 14 to 16-year-olds start window cleaning businesses. My question is why aren't you all in school? What are you all doing that you have time to start a window cleaning business right now in the middle of fall, when you all should be like in sports activities, like all these different things, but all these kids are starting up window cleaning businesses. It's crazy to me.
Homeschooled. It's the only
Is
thing I
that a
can
lot
think
more
of.
popular these days?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess you could be doing online.
I guess. Yeah, it's like when we're on chat, it'll be like a Monday, and it'll be like, 1:30, and kids are on there for the rest of the day, and it's like, you're not in school. Like, I know you're not in school because you've been on chat for 4 hours.
Right.
So
Or they're in school on their phone just talking to you on chat.
that could be too.
Going class to class, period to period, no problems at all. Man, imagine if we would have had iPhones in high school. Like, I was thinking about the other day about, like, I was watching a sports thing, and I was thinking, man, when I played sports in high school, I had like nothing else to think about. Like, there wasn't phones of people like filming me, taking pictures of me, nothing like that. Like, all my attention was on like school and homework. Yeah. And now these kids have
He's a little frozen. He'll be back, and I'll be cutting him off. But yeah, kids nowadays, because there's so much going on with this like 6-second thing, there's just so much more multitasking. When I had ADD when I was younger, it was just like ADD, and now it's like a bunch of people. He's back, and a bunch of stuff can get done. So yeah, I just was talking about what you were kind of saying about like, there's just like ADD, so they can get everything, but everything in an instant. Like, dude, I still remember when I first started my company for like the first probably 6 months, I had a catalog, not even like a magazine or something interesting, but I had a catalog that I would like go through the catalog like every night. And it was ridiculous, but that was like how I learned things about tools. Like I just read the descriptions of everything, and I just did all the time until the thing was like crinkled, and that's how I learned. That's all you had to do to learn.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't know what's going on, guys. So I'm gonna get this fixed in the next like 2 weeks. This is bad. I don't know if it might be my new laptop. That's the only thing I can think about, because it's only been this problem since I got my new laptop. That's all I can think about. I know it sucks for you guys, so I'm sorry if we don't have enough watchers tonight. I'm sorry. But new question. And if you can't hear me say it, you just read it off or something like that. Keeper Upper LLC. Do you prefer to use trucks or vans for a window cleaning business? Man, both are really, really great. I think that vans just are a little bit higher than trucks, just due to that you can store so much, you can organize stuff a lot better. There's a little bit less like unloading, loading stuff every single day. There's just a lot more you can do with vans. You can get ladder racks just like you can on trucks. But then again, I've worked in a truck a lot too, and I really enjoy a truck. But yes, I would definitely say that vans are going to be the best. And I've had a Ram ProMaster and a Ford Transit. I had quite a few motor problems with the ProMaster. I would say that the Transit probably would be the best way to go, but I know that they're going to stop making the smaller transits and they're just going to be making the larger transits, I think, as of next year. So, yeah, either way.
Yeah, you can really utilize trucks if you have storage. Like if you have a warehouse or shop or something or whatever, use trucks. But you got to think a van is like its own secure storage. So you get to keep everything in there, lock it up at the end of the day. You can basically drive a giant billboard, wrap the thing. You know, there's a lot of benefits to a van. If you do any type of plowing like we did, we couldn't run vans because they're usually not four-wheel drive. So we had to run trucks just because we used them as dual purpose. But yeah, vans are really the way to go if you can, for sure. And I think he's frozen again, but I'll ask the next one too. But Zachary said, "Hey man, watched a lot of your videos to learn about the profession. Started a month and a half ago, and almost have my water fed and other equipment paid off. It's freaking awesome." By the way, that one is geared towards Steve. He's back now, but he's just Zachary's talking about how he just started a window cleaning company. He's already got his stuff like paid off. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, man. That's great. That's really, really good.
Remember that thing we were talking about, the whole what would your lessons to yourself be? Zach, it's save money for taxes, man. My PTSD, the biggest PTSD I had was taxes.
I always remember your story about talking about that. And then now whenever I talk to someone about a new business, I'm always like, dude, you have to save up some money. Like you have to create a side account to save up all that extra tax, because not only are you going to owe it for that year you just completed, now you're going to have to pay, like prepay for the next year. And that just, man,
it's the worst time for
us.
It's April. So you're like, you got no money coming out of it,
Yep. Now every year for me still, I pay estimated, and I hate that April payment because it's, if I owe anything and then I'm prepaying, and if that's up, it's up.
Yeah.
It's
I just bought like my starter house with paying a check in 1 month, but yeah, the downside, upside, whatever, is once you hit that tier, well, it did for me, but I went 1 year, I swear, I got a refund because my wife worked. I got a refund for like the first year. The second year, we kind of like didn't do anything. I think I got like $6 back. And then it was just like, she was like, my accountant lady, which was like a family friend, which was a bad problem, but she was like, you did great. And it literally went from like, I got like $6 back to the next year owing like $12,000. And it was like such a I'm like, okay, well, maybe I owe a couple thousand, but man, it was a rough year, long winter and everything else. And it just, at the time, 12 grand was like freaking a ton. I was like, dude, this sucks.
Yeah. It's a very weird thing to get used to. And it also takes a lot of explanation. Like I talked to a person one time that he didn't realize in the first year of business of 1, payroll, and then 2, taxes. And then what he was doing was he was paying his employee cash out of what they were making, not even thinking that, that cash that you're paying, like that's going to actually be reported part of yours. You're going to pay taxes on all that, all of yours, and then do taxes for the next year. And when I told him this over the phone, he was shocked. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, now you know, so now you can just plan and you can just figure it out from this point. But stop doing what you're doing, because this is not a good way to do it.
And that employee decides that you pissed him off, all he has to do is make one phone call and your like entire company's closed. Like they would screw you for so much for like employment issues, and then fair employment. They would hit you for fees that weren't paid, and then penalties on those fees that weren't paid, and taxes that weren't paid, and then fees on the taxes that weren't paid. And
It's never ending, never ending. We have so many questions.
It's
So
great.
many questions. Let's see here.
I'll do one as
Oh,
you're
Zachary,
looking.
you already know.
Yeah,
Huh?
Evan Stomp, but thoughts on gutter guards? I think they suck, but they pay really well. Do you do gutter guards, or you pretty much just Windows?
Yeah, I've never installed gutter guards. Never got into it. That's yeah. I would clean gutters, but no, I never get into that.
Yeah, I did. And there's really good money in it. But the problem is that I really, really want to stand behind stuff. And every time I go there, if the gutter guards didn't work perfectly, then I just feel like I stole their money, you know? So I stopped doing gutter guards because for our area, I did not find any way that I really, really liked. I tried the foam ones, I tried the cap ones, I tried the full molded ones. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't do gutter guards after that. I did it for maybe 2 or 3 years, and that was it.
What would happen that would not make them work? Like they would just
Well,
fill
like,
out no matter what.
yeah, so like gutter filter was one I did for a really long. I mean, I sold tens of thousands of dollars of that. But I went to a property and it was my friend's like grandma, and she had just pine needles, and it was a first floor, like it shouldn't have been anything, and it started getting like kind of like slimed on the top. And then I realized that if it was shaded, then you would get algae, and the algae, because the filter was so small, would grow on that and then would cause it to be clogged, but yet you couldn't really clean the algae off of it without like just removing it. And then it was just like all of a sudden I got 2 calls from one person like, "Hey, they're still overflowing because leaves were on top," and I just felt bad, and yeah, it just didn't end well.
Wow. Yeah. It's a yeah, and gutter guards aren't huge here either, but I could, see in areas like that in the Midwest, there's just more vegetation that could be a lot bigger of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. Let's see here. Richard, just starting my window cleaning business, not licensed though. Any advice? Hey, oh yeah, that's still Richard. Yeah, I would say definitely get insurance and get licensed. Yeah, I mean that should be the first thing. Like I do feel like I'll say something right now, and that a lot of the young people starting the window cleaning business, you really need to be mindful of that. Like this is not just mowing lawns. This is not just like simple landscaping. Like you have liability in doing all this stuff. Some people online make it seem like you can just go out and clean anyone's windows. What's going to happen when you clean that window and you break that window and you have no insurance? You're
Yeah.
going to have to pay for that out of pocket. What's going to happen when that customer finds out you have no insurance and then starts telling everybody else in the neighborhood you have no insurance? You're out of that neighborhood so freaking quick. It's one of the biggest things I think you and I have dealt with this year is young people. And it's awesome to see young people, but you really, really need to understand the liability that you're getting yourself into by actually charging what we do. We do because we're professionals and we have that backing of insurance being licensed. Like
Yeah.
straight up, this might, I don't think it's getting in trouble, but this is not a bullshit career of just like doing whatever and going out there and just like collecting money like nothing. Like it is a true career for many,
Yeah.
many professionals that take it very, very serious. And it's not a joke to many of us, but I feel like partially what's happened this year is that some of it has gotten made into a kind of a joke by 2 people on TikTok, 2 brothers that have totally kind of made a mockery of window cleaning. And sorry to like go off, but it just kind of gets me riled
That's
up in
great.
that it's kind of happened so much and so much that it's to the point where like you really need to sit down with your parents, and your parents need to understand, if you're doing this as a young one, what the liability is of you making a business like
Yeah.
this. Like it's just not the same thing as mowing. And I think a lot of parents do, because I've had a lot of conversations where I can tell where they have sat down with their parents like, hey, like we don't want you on ladders, we don't want you doing this, and that's great, but like you want to make sure you're licensed. You want to make sure you got general liability insurance at the minimum. And then the next question that always comes is, how am I going to compete with the big guys? The first thing you're going to do to compete with the big guys is that you're not going to be in school. You're going to have the full-time ability to actually be able to put it towards your business. Now, I know a couple of young people, and one person that I would say that has been extremely like fun to see their growth is a guy named Grayson out of Texas. He's young, but he has done really, really good and somehow managing his time. And that's great if you can do it. And I think the things that are at, teenagers or young adults, be able to have as far as with social media, with an iPad, an iPhone, and everything makes it so much more possible than when you and I were
Oh
at their
yeah.
age. But we've had so many questions this year that I can't help but just kind of bring this up in this way, and that like you really, really, really need to be thinking of the liability that you are putting by doing this. And it's just not as simple as brushing a window and rinsing a window.
Yeah.
And that's what it's kind of gotten made to here in the past like 6 months to 8 months. And this was not a thing last year at this time.
No,
it was not. It was
no.
not.
And there's the part that the differential is that just take it with the content, but then realize that there's other parts to it. Like, you know, the realistic business side of it is insurance. You lose everything. They're like, well, I'm a minor, so they can't sue me. Well, then your parents get sued because you're, you know, like there's just so many bad things. But the other side to it is that if somebody wants to be successful and they're starting super, super young, they could be huge if they do things the right way. But you know, that's the other thing is that when you're super, super young, and this is no fault on that because we were all young, but it's really hard to look into the future when, you know, you're 14, 15 years old. Like most of us had owned companies longer than they've been alive. So to say like, hey, you're trying to build a company, think of the future. They're like, okay, well, next week it'll be no, it's like farther in the future. Think a little bit farther. You know, that's where like insurance and legalities and like, you know, like you said, licensing and all that other stuff is like, if you're building a company, great. There's a lot of steps to that, and you can have a really, really awesome thing. But if you're building a job, there's no value in selling their job. There's no like, then you can do it as cheap as you want because you're just doing a job, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's great that everyone's getting into it as a young age, like we said, but just make sure you really know. Just Pollo, I think is your name. In your latest video, you mentioned that am I frozen?
Nope, nope, you're good.
Okay, cool. In your latest video, you mentioned that if we need window cleaning supplies, call a number. What do you mean by that? Will we get discounts? So real quickly, and I don't want to make this long for everybody that's been here for a while, is that Josh, Jersey, and I, we are both sales reps for Window Cleaner Resource. We do work on commission only. We do work on the orders that entered with us is the way that we're able to make our careers and do this at night as well. So
This is
no,
a bad
discounts
example
that you
today, like doing this, but yeah. Yeah. Oil.
But no,
I was just gonna say one really cool thing is that it is like giving Steve an ultimate high five if you let him put your orders in. It literally costs you nothing extra. Don't look at it as, I mean, you obviously saw it in one of his videos, so you're getting a bunch of content, knowledge, and everything else. And this is what we do. This is how we do it. So if you ever want to give back to Steve, do it that way. Just let him put an order in for you.
Every time I try to take you seriously, just kidding.
Great.
I can't help it.
This wig is so hot. I don't know how you do it.
I don't have that much hair. I've never had that much hair.
I even cut this, tried to trim it down a little bit, but I just wanted to look super messy.
Man, if I did have that much hair, it'd be crazy. Send me that hat though. I really want your hat because mine is done. Mine is absolutely done. So sad. Oh, let's see here. Speed Semi asks, use my car to transport my water-fed pole setup, and every morning my car has moisture on the windows. Do you have any tips to minimize this? Ooh. What system do you have? Where do you live? Gosh, there's so many questions I could really ask about that. I mean, can you take it out at night and get it out of your vehicle? Is it leaking your vehicle?
There's also things made for RVs called damp rid that are amazingly awesome, and you can get big. They're just like pails of like powder basically, and you just put it in your car and it will just suck up everything. Because what happens is, just like in winter, if you live in a spot like Steve and you have a ton of moisture in the winter time, your windows always fog up, and it's because your feet are always wet. You get in and it gets in the carpet, and it has to actually dry out of the car, you know, instead of just evaporating. So having one of those in there just always helping is will help fix that.
What was in it? You cut out like right during what you said. What was in this thing?
It's like weird crystals that are in there, but it's just damp rid. It's for like humidity things. Like I have them all in my trailer and stuff. When I leave, close it all up, come back, it dries it out. You may not have that locally there in Colorado because you don't have, you know, damp things, but most other places too, even buy it on Amazon.
That was like my discovery of a dehumidifier. My first time seeing one was at
It's
the
so
beginning of
great.
this month. I had no clue what it was, and I didn't know that existed.
It was great. You thought it was like there's some kind of fridge or something running. So great.
Why is this going off every 2 minutes? This is so
Your
ridiculous.
fridge is super broke, bro. It's great.
Let's see here. I just got a Dodge Sprinter van. Got it a few weeks ago, and I really like it so far. Looking to get a wrap. I'm very excited for it. Yes, get your Dodge Sprinter. I'm like going back here in the comments, but get it labeled or get it wrapped. One of the two. Man, it helps so much. People love it.
By the way, as Steve is reading these, can you guys do us a big favor and just thumbs up the video? It'll help rank that. And then also, if you're not subscribed yet to Steve's channel, he is almost at that 40,000 mark. So subscribe, because I know some of you are still not subscribers. So literally right now, just click the plus, subscribe to him, and get him over that thing. So
how disgusted would this channel be? Lately, I don't know why I've had this infatuation with maybe actually trying to get to like 100K subscribers, but it's not going to be possible with window cleaning content alone, unless I go straight guru, straight
I don't know, man. Think
a whole
about
other
this.
style, and I won't do it. But I really was thinking, how would I take this in a very good way that doesn't make it look, too clickbaity and stuff, but like I kind of want to get there. I just kind of want to see
What's
what
crazy
could
though
that
is
do.
look at your subscribers. Like, have your monthly subscribers really gone down? If not, you're still on that trajectory. You know, like you could run that out. So you're getting 1,000 subs a month, say. I mean, no, that's a little bit more, but 750 will say. I don't know what you're actually getting, but whatever that number is, if you keep getting that for say the next, 2 years, where does it put you? Then 4 years,
Now,
where does that put you? Just depends on how long you can do content.
here's the problem. I started my channel in 2012 and it's 2023.
Well, but now it's to the point where it's, it takes you 10 years to become an overnight success,
This is true. This is true. But I kind of wonder, like, man, I just wonder, like, what would be possible there as far as maybe some of the things that could happen. Like, I don't know, because there's so many channels that do it now, if YouTube Shorts, and I don't want to do it that way. But I don't know. It's been a thought in my mind. But I'll get back to the questions.
If at all you want to think about like, oh, I don't remember how this was when I first started. My channel has 450 subs or something right now, and I'm like, dude, I broke 50 subs this month. I can't believe it. And that's like a good Wednesday for you. So, if you start all the way, your trajectory and your momentum is now pushing you. You're going to have even more momentum and trajectory then. And if all these people who are in this group right now subscribe, that's a big push right there.
Oh, hey, we got up to 19 likes. That's very nice of you guys. It's very nice. It's very kind. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hey, Josh, this is a great question for you.
Yeah.
From Rock for Pro Life. Are you guys into scratch removal? Any experience? I'm not.
All right, next question. It's so great. No, yeah, I did scratch removal a lot. I used a glass unit system. It is not cheap, but it's an awesome insurance and it pays incredibly well. But you want to get trained, because if you do it wrong, it makes it look more noticeably bad than if you don't. But it's really, really simple. I went out to Habitat Restore, bought a bunch of like windows they took out of old houses and screwed them to my wall in my office. And the guys could come in and play with it anytime they wanted to keep it up and be good with it. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's expensive, but it's pretty awesome.
Can we jump to one question?
I hope it's the question I'm waiting for.
If you want to bring it up, you can bring it up.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. Do you know about Josh and Oliver Lester? Thoughts on them? Yes, we know about them because in being in this niche of window cleaning, it's not very large. So when something like that comes along, we do find out about them. And I'll be quite honest, what I talked about earlier was very much about that influence on this industry. But I think what's very important to note is that when you see this, and this is what I've talked to other people about them, is that they are not window cleaners, right? They are selling a type of service, and they're doing that type of service through the marketing of door knocking.
Yeah.
And so what I know is that around 6 years ago, they started a door knocking company, not anything about actual window cleaning.
Yeah.
So what they are first are door knockers. And then they decided to, and I'm saying this all just like, I'm not positive on all this stuff, but this is from what I've seen, right? Then they decided to go after the window cleaning market. Now, if you do watch and you do see, and I've watched them because they pop up, a lot of their short videos, it's all from one time frame.
Yeah.
It's all from one time frame. This is not a lot of videos that are repeated. It's a lot of repeated content. Just recently, they moved from YouTube Shorts to creating larger YouTube videos because they can't put their links to their class anymore in their YouTube Shorts, which makes YouTube Shorts not a good idea for them anymore to get more of you young people to sign up for their program, which I had somebody call me one time and tell me what the price of their program was. And so what they want to sell to you is that for $4,800, you are going to be able to make $1,000 a day in 6 weeks' time. And I know, and you know, as window cleaners, that this is not something that is an actual reality, but is a joke. And it's a joke to get young people gravitated towards this idea. Now, just like we said earlier, it's awesome to get young people to want to do things like this. But at the same time, they are only talking about one factor: money. How can you make this much money a day? Who wants to make money? Every young teenager, every person wants to make money. But how are you going to do
Now
it?
too, instant now.
Yeah,
Nobody says
instantly,
we're
right,
building a
right now.
company.
Yeah. And then anybody that really follows them and gets along in it, and you'll see these other people on YouTube also start their own things and want to be coaches, right? And there's not a lot of backing to them. So what I would say to you is, as much as I do feel like I've slightly bashed them here, but I feel like it's totally warranted off things that I would never even bring up that have happened privately, is that I would just be very, very careful in following that type of content, right? Yeah. So like we put out content that is, I mostly do stuff about equipment just to show equipment of what it is. I've done that for over a decade now, and that's just what I do. Jersey puts out amazing business content of his opinion of actually owning and selling a window cleaning business, pressure washing, doing all that stuff. And jump in if I say anything wrong.
Yeah.
But I say this in that I've never made a video about it, but I do get they have unfortunately brought in a kind of something that is masked to be extremely positive, but in the background is extremely gross and negative.
Yeah.
That's just my feeling about it, because I've talked to so many people that have like almost done it, like almost done their program, but then have reached out to us because they want to talk to somebody real. So what does that do? I once, just for the fun of it, just went on the little thing and like filled out a thing to get more information. I've been called many, many times by their guy, like out in California. I don't give them any information, but I won't go on about it anymore. But I would just tell you all, I would just be super, super careful. What's your opinion, Josh?
It's content. You hit all of it on the head. It's content. They're so solar and roofing. Those are the type of things you can go door knock, because if I sell one roof, they could do the roof and I move on, right? I don't have to build an experience because a roof lasts 30 years. So I sell one roof, my job is done, right? In window cleaning, to build it as a company, you have to have your repeat business, and it has to be an amazing experience because we're a luxury. You can't go in, pressure somebody like they do, and then create something awesome. That is why this whole thing is really fun to watch as content. And like I said, I used to look through catalogs, and that was just because I was enveloped in the industry. Do that, watch the content, but just don't take that as in everything, because if you go out there and if you go do $1,000 worth of sales in one day, cool. Like that's really, really awesome. But now that means your next day you have to do the work. Can you do $1,000 in work in one day? If not, then that's 2 days. So it took you 3 days to do $1,000 worth of work, including the day that it took you to sell. So now at that point, it's like you're not doing $1,000 a day. You're doing, your $333 a day or whatever. And it's like, that's super cool too. But like, understand the reality of it. And those people, when you talk to them, do not have the return rate. There's another guy that's on Pro, and I won't say his name because I can't think of it now. He's just one of those trolls that comments negatively on everything and he knows nothing, but he has problems selling a window which is 2 panes in his world, for $8 when like industry standards like 15 to 20. And he can't sell it because he's got kids out there doing door-to-door knocking, and he's like, that's my area. No, it's you just gotta just change some. No, I know what I'm doing. It's like, okay, this is kind of the downside to it. So use it as content. It's great content. They got tons of views. It's fun to watch people in awkward situations. It's very cool to kind of see that part, but don't take it as in truth or reality. Just use it as your fuel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And like we get hit up a lot about this kind of stuff just because of where we're at, you know, with everybody in the social media window cleaning world. So it's been a very interesting year to see it all. And I don't know them, you know, at the same time. I mean, they've definitely got hustle. I mean, they really, really do.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot deny that about them. And that's not what I'm saying, but I would just be careful. I feel like we've all seen stuff like this before in our life. And I feel like it's one of those things where you know exactly what's going on, but you're tempted. You know, it's like going to a casino. Like,
Yeah.
I could win out big. The probability is pretty low, but I might be able to win out big, you know? So that's just the funny thing about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I don't know. Every time I talk about it, it makes me fired up because I love seeing people succeed. Like, I would love nothing to see everybody around me be better than anything I've ever done. And then the downside is that there's so many people who just shut their ears down off of, they're never going to learn anything else. They know it all. And it's all because of one thing that they saw and only focused on that instead of everything. So, yeah.
Real quickly, there was a fun question here in the chat from Truth Matters. What's the most anyone in the chat has made in one day window cleaning? Just for fun, nothing of a measuring contest of in the comments of how much have you done in one day? I've had days where I had one of my most frustrating days ever. It was a winter day where I thought I was going to be able to clean the inside of a home, and then by like that 11 a.m. time, get outside and be able to clean all the windows outside. And by 2 p.m. when the shade came back, I'd be all done. And man, it was like I made $100 in that day because everything froze. I went and did a solar panel job and then came back, still everything froze. And I eventually just had to say, listen, I can't do the job today just because of this. And boom, the next day she sold her house.
Yeah. I remember more of the days I've made nothing than the bigger days. Because the bigger days you come back and like, dude, that was awesome. That was a great day. You know, I ran crews. So when a crew came back, you know, if they did fantastic, I'd throw them bonuses and stuff. Awesome. But I remember the ones where I was like, dude, we got to the first job. They weren't home. We waited. They weren't there. Oh, we're coming. We're not coming. Oh, sorry. I can't leave work. Man, okay. 30 minutes later, I got a crew now goes to the next house. They're trying to get into that one early. So instead they pull something off the floater board. And it's like at the end of the day, it's like, I remember days when I'm like, dude, I figured everything out, and just costs alone, not including loss, I made like negative like $28. I'm like,
yeah,
it's awful.
Yeah,
I remember those.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how my day was almost a day where it was just like it started off where I got to the home and like one of my best customers. I just knew it was like if something happened, it wasn't a problem, but it's like you immediately know now at this point of experience, you're like, oh, we're just gonna reschedule. I gotta get on with my day. Like if I sit here and wait for another hour, that's gonna lose me time later. I'd rather just get on with it. This is a loss in the morning. Boom, let's just go.
Because if you charge $100 an hour and it takes you 30 minutes to wait around, then you just instantly need to charge them $50 more to stay on par, and no one does that. So it's like, just take it, reschedule it. It's not your fault. It's theirs. Move on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, yeah, that topic always is it's a crazy, crazy topic.
It is. Well, it is for us more than anybody because those guys, everybody sees them because they pop up on TikTok, but we get a lot of like Isaiah, right? Isaiah, I probably pronounced that right. Dude's awesome. 14 years old, hustling. He saw something. He tried it. He just wrote that he was out there, did it all, sold, did it, and then realized that, you know, it wasn't really sustainable. But he tried it and he did it. Like the hustle part, whenever somebody tells me, like, I'm going to door knock, like, what should I do? I always tell people jokingly, like, don't, because door knocking is awful. But if you're ballsy enough to go out and door knock, I'm telling you that you have the hustle to make it a business, and your business can turn into a company. If you have that hustle to do that, that's a huge thing because everybody else is too scared to even talk to somebody face to face. So it's super ballsy to do.
Yeah, I've talked about it a couple of times. I met a guy from around my area who started out that way. and boom, like was able to get a bunch of customers built up, but then knew that that wasn't the way to like keep on going. So got that customer built up and then just started doing marketing the other way, and is just still going. And it kind of worked out really good for him in that way. But it's kind of like, you know, what was it? Scrub and Wash made a good comment. I door knock for route. And yes, like
100% there. Yeah.
yes, that's a little bit different because when you have a business, you're expecting people to come into your business, like you want people to come in. Maybe someone doesn't want you to come in and sell them something. You can tell that like right away when you do that. But yes, like to me, that is the number one way. And I call it cold call sales, like in person. Like that was the way I closed so many storefronts. And it was like, you would have some days you have zero, you would have some days, you know, you can get 25% of them closed. I mean, it's the one way that, and you tell me if you feel the same way, that like still that same way that I did it like a decade ago is still almost the best way to do it, because
Oh yeah, there's no other better way for route.
Yeah, stores really don't call like a window cleaning business unless they are usually through like Service Master, or they're through some sort of company that's reaching out to you to get that service done. And usually when Service Master is reaching out, they want you to take the job for $65 for 120 windows, and they also want you to pressure wash, you know. So it's like that makes it really difficult. But there's many ways to get started. There's many ways to do everything. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that you have to think about with the small places is if it's a mom and pop place, they have to do everything. They're doing everything from changing light bulbs to sweeping to stocking to running the register to they're doing everything. They're not thinking about window cleaning. So they're not going to like, well, we need a window we should find. Like they're going to try to do it themselves, or it's just going to be put on the back burner. You know, the bigger the place you get, the more you kind of have to deal with that. So the smaller the place, the easier it is to walk in and be like, hey, $15, I can do it. It's on my route. I got, 100 stores in the street.
Yeah. What's up? This is a really good question that I just want to get you from Kevin Stomp. Can we talk tempered glass? A lot of conflicting info out there. I'm always very hesitant to use a razor. I've heard some say razors always scratch, and others like IWCA say it's a myth, and it is a myth.
Yes.
A razor, a scraper is not going to scratch the glass. We do have a very good article about it on windowcleaner.com about fabrication debris. That is basically the one thing that is really, really going to scratch glass. So I would really read about that. Josh, you have some great things to say about this all the time. I'm going to link them this while you talk.
Yeah, I do that. The one thing with myths that I always like to do is put stuff out there, because there's a good like half dozen myths that for some reason it just gets out there. But tempered glass is that. There's tempered glass. Not only is it harder than normal glass, but in the Hans scale, right? That's the like density scale. You can't cut a diamond with like a feather, right? It's impossible. The diamond always wins. That's the same thing with a razor and glass. The glass is always harder than the tip of a razor. Now, if you take a razor and you gouge it on the side, then you're going tensile strength, not tip. That's a different story. But you cannot scratch glass with a razor, no matter what happens. I've had people literally tell me that the sun heats the windows and it's scratch easier when they're hot. I've had people tell me, new glass now is so soft, every glass scratches. All that stuff is wrong. Glass is glass. Glass is a certain hardness. The sun does not melt glass. The sun does not make it softer. Fabricating debris is not on all windows, and there's nothing special about all tempered glass that makes it not razorable. Yeah. Scraperable, whatever. Yeah, it's a myth.
Hey, someone doesn't know which one of us is SteveO.
I get it. Sometimes I forget.
It's so great that you stayed in character the whole entire time too. Well, not character, but at least the discussion.
It's so hot. I do want to take it off, but now my hair is going to be really messed up, and then I can't do that.
Did your kids see this?
No, my kids are gone. My wife did my amazing beard, which my face was so red because she was trying like eyelash stuff, whatever that is. It was like annoying. So my chin was like super red. I'm like, I think I'm allergic to some of your stuff. And then finally, like the fourth thing,
you go to the hospital.
Kind of worked, yeah. So can you tell me what happened? I prefer not to.
Oh man, it's so great. What other questions do we have here? Evan, great question though. Oh, real quickly, Weatherman Rain. Yo, SteveO, should I use water-fed pole in about 50-degree weather or traditional method? 50-degree is fine. Totally good. I would love a 50-degree day with water-fed pole. Really, my rule of thumb, and I'll say this to a lot of people, is like, I feel like 34 to 35 degrees is a good place. Don't even go out there and do it. Due to that, like at 32 degrees, it's going to freeze. But if you just like make that degree marker, like if it gets to 35, we're just not doing it, and you just settle on that like every single time, no matter what. If you have a job, it's going to be 34 degrees all day. We're not water fetting that job. Of course, you can always do traditional and use your windshield washer fluid and get up down the ladders. Of course, be careful. But like I did that for years. You know, I didn't even consider using a water fed pole during the winter. So 50 degrees is fine, but I always just say a good rule of thumb, like 34, 35 degrees, just make a cutoff and just say we're not doing water fed at that temperature. Like that's just it.
Yep. If it's 35 degrees and it's like 4 o'clock, that means that all the water you spray is going to turn to ice, and like it will turn to ice before it dries, basically. So that 35 is a good one. Plus, you got to talk wind chill. If you're in a truck and you got your system sitting there, your system's going to be 20 degrees in the back of that truck with all the wind, and now you're freezing stuff and breaking stuff. And if you do break stuff, remember, Steve is a rep at windowcleaner.com. And this time of year, unfortunately, that is our like a big part of our job.
Yeah. I had someone ask me that today about wind chill and everything, and like we don't get that bad here, but it's just you should just make a rule of thumb for yourself where you don't guess, because for many years I would guess and I would say, oh well, like maybe for 2 hours it's gonna be at like 36 degrees. So I'm gonna try this. I did water fed one time at a home at I believe it was 19 degrees, and but I had heated water and everything. A lot of the house was in the sun, but I froze like a bunch of glass railings, and they went into like a pool, and they didn't unfreeze for like a week. And so that was my time where I said, okay, like that could have been a very expensive like problem if something could have happened. Nothing did happen, but that's a really bad idea. So that was my last job where I ever did that. And that was only a few years ago. So I tried.
I still remember doing just scrubber, when we put all the windshield washer fluid, you scrub a whole window and then you see it just go like start freezing over. You're like, well, so you got your razor out and you're trying to scrape the window off, and it's like, well, these are just going to look awful all the time. And then you have to go home. So
let's see here. I think we got all of our questions answered from there. Oh,
by the way, Jeremy, the window cleaner, #1clip. He says he's got a cart for you to run, but he said #1clip. So it's like a good thing.
Who you really want.
Glad to see some of your customers are smart with the 1 clip.
Who is Jeremy the window cleaner? Is this Pommel?
I don't know.
That has to be.
Did he change his name, his screen name? He might have.
I don't know. Richard Souza. How about razoring tinted windows?
That's different.
You can't razor it because you'll dig right into the tint. But one thing we've talked a lot about on here is people get confused with like factory tint especially on commercial panes. Like it's super rare for, at least in my area, for tint to be on the outside of the pane. So you can always see an aftermarket tint how it's applied, because there's a little smidgen on the edge that you can really see, and that's how I go about it. Like if I see that, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that everybody is always like, can you do this on tint? There's so many. There's crappy tint. There's good tint. There's between glass tint. Low-E coatings between glass. Sometimes it's done wrong. Can you do that? Yes. As a case, you can do a certain thing, but then it doesn't like tint. Assume that if it's on tint, you can't use a razor. But if it's in between the glass or something else, you maybe can. But you just have to kind of watch it.
Yeah. I once cleaned a job with tint that was so bad that even if you took your detail towel and just detailed, scratches.
It leaves those micro scratches where in the right light you can see them flickering. Yeah.
Yep. And then one time I had a job where they had put tint on the outside of a skylight, and they literally told me, they were like, "Hey, be really careful. Unless window cleaner used a scraper up there and scratched the tint." And then I didn't really. In my mind, I was like, "Okay, well, I just won't use a razor." And so I did it, and my squeegee just scratched the whole entire tint. Now I don't say that, and like, don't be all scared. This was someone who was
rare. It was rare.
Yeah, that's super. Like that's only happened to me one time, and it was due to that they were putting this on top of the home when it was getting super hot, super damaged. It was a horrible idea. So there was no way for it to really come out good. But that's the only time I've ever seen it. So like tint is tint, man. Like you don't use walnut pads, you don't use steel wool. Pretty much magic eraser, a soft microfiber, squeegeed off, detail the edges, be done.
Do you remember purple tint? Like, were you around then back when like tint wasn't good? That stuff was garbage too. By the way,
cars, all bubbly and stuff on the back windshield.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Sorry, Wand Wizard just said, "What's up, SteveO? What's up, man?" I think he's talking to me.
Oh, here's a good question from Isaiah. How does rain affect the windows? Pretty, not too bad.
No, rain is technically pure unless it hits something on the way down or it becomes acid rain, which is also relatively rare. So that's why rain guarantees really work, is because it's not necessarily to protect against the rain, because it really doesn't dirty windows for the most part. It's more to keep your schedule from people just rescheduling because they're scared.
Yeah. Here's another question from Tyler Berry. Have a storefront that has some type of tile / glass that covers the entire front of the store. Is that something that could be water fed? I would say yes, if it's glass. I messed up at my parents' house, I think a long time ago, and I think they have plexiglass cubes. And I think it may have scratched them a tiny bit. And if they're watching this, they're finding that out now. So mom, dad, I'm sorry. So I just be careful, because I think some of those times like this, you're probably fine. Like when they used to do it back in the days, if this is like an older storefront, I think that those glass cubes were always glass. But nowadays too, when they're doing like those, things like in the bathrooms, they're making that tile, but it's like a plexiglass, like one big thing they're putting in because it's lighter.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. But so I'd be careful, but honestly, you're probably good.
People I think are more scared to scratch stuff than it actually happens, because if your windows are 10 years or older, there's scratches on them, especially commercial glass, because it's just always getting windblown with sand and everything else. So it's like people get more worried, but you see scratches when the glass is clean. As soon as it's not, it's I mean, obviously be careful, don't do stupid things, but it's not as big of a deal,
Yep. Question from James. Yo, any tips for beginners and when I should invest in water fed, or should I live in a hot environment where it doesn't snow? So can I use them year round? I would tell you this, is that starting off traditional is a very good way to do it, because you figure out if you really enjoy it or not. If you really want to jump in with both feet and you have the capital to jump in and you want to get water fed, there's no problem in doing water fed.
Yeah.
It's only going to shorten that learning curve as far as the window cleaning goes, but it is strictly based upon what you feel like doing as far as the investment. Like if you're watching all these videos, you've been out there, maybe you've done a couple of jobs with friends or family or another company, and you're like, man, this is what I want to do, jump in, But if it's something that you still have a little bit of questions about, I mean, if anything, you should always make sure it's something you really want to do before you just jump in and spend a good amount of money. Because if you're in Florida, Texas, some of these states that all require an RODI system. So an RODI system, pole hose system, you're gonna be at $2,500 just for that. So I don't know, that's where I come from on it.
Yeah, it's like if somebody says, okay, if I have a Home Depot squeegee and I buy one from WCR, would I be faster? The real answer there is not really faster. That's more technique. When it comes to pure water is different. Pure water, it will make you faster, but you don't necessarily need it. It's like buying a new vehicle. You don't need a new vehicle, but if you have the capital to get one, then do it. I love water fed. I would never be a window cleaner anymore without it, but that's because I know what I know and done what I've done now. But if you're new, if you can afford to get water fed, get water fed. But is it a necessity starting off? No, it's awesome to have, but it's not necessarily 100%.
You talked about something that I don't think we've ever talked about in here, but like how you say, I would never use water fed. I would always now have a water fed pole, knowing what I know now. Don't you feel like with water fed, and this is not me being like a sales rep, this is me like being honest. there is a point with water fed where all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this is the best. I have my place where I can use it. I have my place where I can't use it. But now that I've realized where it's great, holy crap, I can do so many other things. And I say that though, because there is a lot of people that go through that transition, and some go through it very short. Some take a very long time. Some get very angry during this point because it's something new that they feel like should be magic water. And it does take a little bit of technique. It takes less technique than learning how to clean a window with a squeegee. But once you do it, I've been on many jobs where like I get finished a job and I'm like, kind of feel like I'm cheating here. And like that's the point though where you're like, dude, like this freaking works. Like just like I said at the beginning, there's things it doesn't work on and things that it does. But man, there's like that period of like I'm in the exact same boat. I would never, ever, ever again start a company and just say, hey, we're gonna ladder everything, we're gonna do it this way. There's no point. No. Just because of everything we know now, especially all the different things to agitate the glass with. Like there's been so many good improvements in the last decade that make it just the best. Yeah. Like Hallman, he's a solo guy. He's just water fed all the time.
Yeah. Imagine like if you really think about water fed, I am a true absolutely. I'll fight. This is my hill here, but on anything with a ladder, so second floor and above, you will be twice as fast with water fed. You'll cut it in at least half, right? With that being said, that means that your jobs then you make double the money. So take the money that you made extra and then put that towards the investment. You have the thing paid off in a couple of weeks. You know, so it's really, but again, just because it's awesome doesn't mean it's necessarily for you. It'd be really awesome to have a private jet, but if you don't have the funds, well, then you're going to fly in a normal commercial, you know?
Yep.
But I'll tell you, the last time I ran crews, you know that I wasn't out in the field like daily, and we had the flu run through our place. Like I ended up having like 8 guys out at one time. It was an awful like week, and everybody had the flu. So it was like, don't come in because then it's just everywhere. I'm lysoling anyway. So we were just like to the point where we're like, dude, stuff's got to get done. All right, I'm picking stuff up. I'm going to go work, do stuff. I picked off all of the outs water fed jobs, like the entire day. Every job, I moved them off the schedule and gave them to me just because I knew if I was out in the field, I wanted to do water fed. So if that doesn't tell you something, I didn't pick up a squeegee that day, you know?
Right. It's I won't go on and on about it, but it's a really good point to it. That like day, it's like almost when you just figured out how to ride your bike when it clicks, or when like it clicks of how to fan a window, and you're like, oh, there it is.
That's
it's the same
why
thing
everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're watching right now, you're on SteveO, the Window Cleaners channel. Please subscribe. He is going for a huge goal. Do that first and foremost. And there are only 26 likes right now on this video. So if you're here, it costs you nothing to click the like button, click the thumbs up, heart, whatever YouTube's giving you, and subscribe. That would be absolutely amazing for SteveO, this side, the real SteveO. It's just me. It's just Jersey.
Jersey. Ah.
Don't you like this hair way better?
Yeah, you look at old Graham.
I look like Justin now, like from our market or our what am I thinking? What is he? Graphics specialist.
Graphics. Yes. I think his hair looks a little better.
Yeah, everybody's hair looks a little better.
I hope so.
Do I look like I should go door knocking?
Yes.
Okay, listen, real quick. You know, my TikTok stuff, I do stupid things on TikTok. I bought another wig that's like a stupid, they called it like it looks like a mushroom head, like the new hairstyle. And I'm just going to go do stupid things like that. One of the videos is me going to do, I'm going to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and go in the aisle with all the squeegees and be like, hey, so today I'm just going to show you what tools you need. And then I'm just going to grab my laptop from behind the camera and show like WCR's website. Just like totally mocking them. Just because I'm old and stupid, and that's just fun.
That's just what's. Oh man. Well, hey, I'll answer one quick question here, and you can probably come in on this, and then I think we'll get out of here. Richard Souza asks, so there's no way to get off ugly tape stain on tinted windows. I would tell you this: I've used glue gun, and I've gotten a lot of adhesive off of tint using that. I'd be very careful with it. Like I would never like scratch it with your finger or even use like a plastic scraper. Like if you use that with like if the tint's in good shape, that with like a good microfiber, you can kind of take away some of it. And then if there's like a little bit left, like a magic eraser, but literally that is the only few things that I would suggest. Like everything has to be soft on tint. like very, very soft.
Yeah. By the way,
Chocolate
one wizard just said I was SteveO from Temu, which is so perfect timing. It's great.
Man, what is Temu?
Temu is like a wish.com thing. We just buy
Oh,
like
geez.
crap. I have so much junk from there. But
Really?
yeah, the same thing. I bought like a bunch of like window cleaning stuff. I'm just gonna do like window cleaning, like it's just garbage. But like stupid things like this. This was a Temu buy, which is like a carabiner for keys. Like this was like 98 cents. Like so, like as you're going through your cart, just throwing stupid stuff in there, all of a sudden it's like $200 of just like 1,000 things of just dumb things, you know, like tactical stuff and like yeah.
Well, I know what I'm doing tonight. Temu.
Well, you're going down a rabbit hole, my friend.
That's okay.
It's like if wish.com had a wish.com for itself. It's like, yeah. It's like the closeout store for wish.com. Super easy to do, but yeah.
Wow. I'm going to check this out. Anyways, well, we are back and we are back for good. And I know I said it last time, but we really, really are. So we'll be here every 2 weeks, at least through the winter and early spring. It may go back to once a month in the summer and stuff, because we get so busy. But it was crazy, guys. Like the amount of people that did reach out during this time that we weren't on here much made us realize, like, even if you're like new and this is your first time, that this really does help. And it's just kind of a fun, very casual, like back and forth with us. And we enjoy it, and we appreciate you guys always being here. And Jersey, do you have anything to share?
Yes. Almost forgot. Sorry, I'm dressed like Steve. I was just gonna end it, be like, yeah, thanks for watching. Bye. If you haven't yet, go and get yourself the American Window Cleaner magazine. Go to awcmag.com and get a subscription, because you're a nerd. You're watching nerdy window cleaning stuff, so be a nerd with a magazine also. Something to read on the toilet, so go and get that.
Awesome. Well, y'all have a great Halloween. Stay safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace. Bye.